as Ryan so eloquently said, my name is Nicholas Giles. I'm an alliances manager with Tipalti. So my background's been ERP and financial services software. And what we wanted to do today was, I guess, really start and talk about some of the problems facing a modern finance team and department within an organisation. There's never been more stress and pressure on finance to produce the intelligence, the information that the business is demanding, so they can make the right intelligent decisions. Then we'll move on and just talk about why the need for digital innovation, why digital can really provide some of the solutions for you, and really also talk about why now. So, why now should you look at adopting more digital innovation within your business and within your finance team, why the finance team in itself, and kind of some of the areas that you could look to focus on. And then Jasmine is going to really brilliantly just kind of quickly just show some of the 5 big issues across the AP process and how they can be really resolved through automation and through a digital platform. And then we'll quickly kind of just tie up with a quick offer called the AP Health Check and a Q&A as well. So the problem statement, I guess I wanted to start today by saying that that finance has never been under more pressure, typically. But the strategic potential of finance to actually deliver to the business information, intelligent data that can really help them make the right decisions to take the business forwards has never been greater before. But typically, finance still has a large number of manual processes and manual processing that is really holding it back. Now,
sorry, Nick, just quickly, can you share the slide deck?
Yes, can you not see it?
No.
Oh, sorry. That was an epic fail on my part. So it's great. That is. Can everyone see my screen now?
We can, yes.
Oh dear, that was a real epic fail. So sorry, just to quickly cover the agenda. Even better, this is being recorded. So one of the great things about the internet is that my fluff up will be seen for eternity. But there we are. So yeah, but just really quickly. So this is the agenda. So let's talk about some of the problems that finance face. How digital platforms can really provide a solution to those issues, why you should look at it now, how quickly you can adopt and really fix some of these issues that have been issues that have held finance back for decades in terms of some of the manual processes that they follow. And Jasmine's going to do a great job in demoing and sharing her screen at the right time to actually kind of show you how you can solve some of these issues. So here we go. Right, start again. So yeah, I think as I was just saying, for me, the finance team have a real opportunity to deliver huge value back to the business. There's never been more data being produced. But typically, finance teams are held back still by lots and lots of manual processing of forms and the need to obviously make sure that the finances and the controls that are in place in a business have never been more demanding. And we see this through lots of different drivers to growth. It might be that as an organization you're looking at going down a mergers and acquisitions route, that you're looking to make those acquisitions. It might be that just as an organization you're experiencing real growth, and that's putting a stress in your finance team. It might be that you're going into new markets or into new locations, or just simply providing new services because of changes in your marketplace today. Whatever those changes are that the business is going through, it puts stress and strain on your finance team. but your opportunity is to really, that you have today is actually that it's never been in a way easier to actually use digital innovation platforms and technology to actually free up your finance team to actually drive value back to other parts of the business. So, whether, that's providing, the intelligence to make, really key operational improvements, to free up time, not only in finance, but across your organization, whether it's providing that data and analysis, to make sure that actually if there's going to be any M&A activity, that can be properly funded and worked through. As I said, the ability for organizations to use technology to provide this data through their finance team is here and now. So Tipalti conducted some research, which we're actually going to be sending to you after this event, the future of office finance, and we looked at the whole at a finance team. We looked at many finance teams, conducted interviews, and we really identified that AP is typically still the #1 most time-consuming function in finance. So much of the accounts payable process is still being done manually, and that really needs to change. The business is demanding more time and more performance and more value from its finance team, and the only way and that can really be delivered is through automation. If we look at the payables process today, then we see kind of 4 key areas where that need improvement. Firstly, around many processes being inefficient. If you look at manual onboarding, so many organizations are still, either picking up the phone or typing emails and having back and forth between their finance team and new suppliers to get them onboarded, to get the information that they require to make sure that when those invoices come in from that supplier, that they're going to be paid and paid correctly. Following on, when you're thinking about areas like supplier management, again, so many finance teams are inundated with phone calls from suppliers wanting to know the updates on the status of an invoice, asking, why hasn't the invoice been paid, or you said last week this was going to be paid and it still hasn't been paid. And again, typically it means that the finance team, rather than be able to actually provide high value work, are just effectively becoming effectively kind of message clerks, ringing up other parts of the business to find out, and just check on the status of goods or services that should have been provided, and then obviously providing that information back to the supplier. And then around payments as well, there's never been more stress and pressure on organizations around making sure that when you are making payments to your suppliers, that those payments are actually correct, that they've been approved, but also as well that there aren't any bad actors in there, that the information you've got, your supplier's payment details are absolutely correct and up to date. When we look at the actual kind of AP process as well, I think many organizations have looked in the past at just simply trying to resolve the pain of the AP process, the end-to-end AP process, by just automating a very small part. There are customers today using just simply in the invoice management part of the process, like an OCR sort of scanning solution, just to kind of digitize the invoices that come in. And that's a great, it's a great solution. It's a plaster on the wound, as it were, of that pain point. But the one thing we want to really kind of talk and show you today is that actually it's more than possible. In fact, there are thousands of customers out there who are actually automating the whole end-to-end process that you can see here, from PO management all the way through to global payments. And that's really what we want to cover off. We want to show you how you can actually have a platform that is really easy and flexible to use in terms of enabling people to raise those POs and take those POs through approval, enabling approvers to kind of see actually how that invoice, how that PO might will affect a budget in real time, through to invoice management, your finance team shouldn't be having to spend their time onboarding a supplier. Let's push that onboarding process back to the supplier. Let's get them to do their own onboarding, obviously with all the correct checks and security in place. And then when those invoices start to come in, let's enable really smart workflows to your approvers, but also as well make sure that there's some intelligence going on in the background to make sure that those invoices are being scanned and recognized, and actually automatically the correct GL codes are being assigned. So again, it's removing another task from finance. And lastly, when those invoices are approved, rather than spending hours or even days making manual payments to your suppliers, through potentially multiple bank accounts or small batches, or even having kind of semi-automation where you have a technology partner who every time you change banks or needs or a platform changes, you need just some payable work to be done. Actually having just a single platform that actually can make all of your global supplier payments in one screen and in one process. So that's what we really want to kind of talk to you about today. So if when we're going through some of the pain points shortly, if there are specific pains that really resonate from you, please do kind of talk to us at the end, ask any questions that you want. I think one of the key bedrocks as well that all organizations are looking for are is from digital platforms today are some of the service foundations below. So what you are looking for is that ability to automate, have your platforms provide some level of artificial intelligence, but making sure that the financial controls that you have in place, your compliance, continues to adapt and evolve as you grow your business. And that's certainly what Tipalti can provide. So yeah, we like to really, we think that we want to really, I guess one of our aims as an organization is to free the finance team to really provide higher value tasks back and higher value services back to the business. We see our platform as being ultra scalable. So we have customers who have joined us who have gone from 10 million in revenue to hundreds and hundreds of millions in revenue. We see customers, through hundreds of case studies, really raving about the fact that it's not just that they've been able to eliminate 80% of the time reconciling invoices, but it's actually been able to eliminate 80% of their workload across the entire AP process. Many customers talk as well about how adopting a platform like Tipalti can really help them strengthen their financial controls. And if you're going through kind of investment rounds, it's really key that you can prove to your investors that actually you've got the systems in place to, so that actually if you receive that next round of funding, you've got the right systems to be able to handle that increase in funds and spend that money wisely. And lastly, around visibility, no one likes closing the books. It has to be done. It's one of those tasks, and actually having a platform where the information, the data is being set right at the start of the process helps you to close your books quicker, meaning you can be that much more agile as a finance team. So just a really quick bit about Tipalti. We have over 2,000 customers now. As an organisation, we're effectively kind of doubling year on year. So we had 1,000 customers last year. I think, as I've kind of lightly talked about, customers pay suppliers directly through our platform. So we're FCA regulated. We're an e-money transmitter, and as you can see, we've transmitted billions of pounds of payments, on behalf of our customers, to millions of payees. So as an organisation, when you start looking at our platform shortly, you can really be reassured that we've had to go through all of the right checks and balances, and as you can see, we have thousands of active customers successfully really enjoying and getting great value from our platform today. We also keep the customers that we have. We have a really, really high retention rate to our customers. And I've just included a few logos here. So I really want to make the point that in terms of a platform like Tipalti, if you're kind of sat, watching this presentation thinking, well, actually, this could be a bit too big for us, please be reassured. Our solution is really, really popular with, companies from a couple of £1 million, in revenue, as I said, up to hundreds and hundreds of millions. And in fact, most of those organizations actually came and started using Tipalti many, many years ago, when they were very much smaller than what they are today. So what I wanted to do now is just hand over to Jasmine, who is going to go through and just sort of show you live some of the areas of Tipalti and how a digital platform like Tipalti can really help you solve some of the real pain points that your finance team and I'm sure maybe yourselves actually find yourselves experiencing on a monthly basis. So we're going to look at suppliers and how you can actually one step on board a supplier and manage that supplier relationship, and have the supplier kind of do all of the work on keeping their data up to date. We're going to look at invoice management, and true automation, that ability to actually not just receive invoices and have them scanned and digitized for yourselves, but actually, also have some intelligence going on in the background to really take away some of the further tasks that typically finance teams still have to do with invoices. Around approvals, we're going to show you now how you can really combine kind of the control of approvals process, but with real kind of dynamic flexibility as well. We're going to quickly go through PO matching, because as we all know, in the world of finance, nothing is ever nothing ever works perfectly. So there's always a need to look at how to deal with PO matching in the real world, with kind of errors or mistakes. And then lastly, global payments. And this is where lots of customers really see the power of the Tipalti platform, the ability to really kind of make all of their payments in one screen and one process, and take what can typically take someone hours and hours down to just minutes to do. So Jasmine, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand over to you.
Thank you, Nick. Morning, everyone. While I just set up, give me a couple of minutes. Appreciate that. So let me just double check you can see my screen. We should be a slideshow. Fantastic. So let me just open up the slideshow. So nice to meet you all. So basically, just to reiterate, Tipalti is that cloud-based, multi-entity, multi-currency, full end-to-end AP platform, and it does, manage the full process from onboarding a supplier all the way to payments with a direct integration into NetSuite. And also, as Nick said, we've got the embedded controls and checks to ensure that you remain compliant. And what I'm going to do now is to kind of like dip in and out of the actual system to show those 5 key areas that Nick explained. But of course, at any point in time, if you do want a further detailed demo, you can always get in touch. So from the first area, we'll be looking at the supplier onboarding section. We'll skip over the actual PO management, but look into invoice management, at the approvals and the 2- and 3-way matching, and then we'll have a look at the actual payments piece. So in terms of the actual onboarding process, what happens in terms of when we want to actually onboard a supplier will be sent an email that looks like this, of course, with your own logo and your own personalized details within the email. But ultimately, they'll have access to this tokenized link, which will send them, which will give them access to a portal that looks like this. They'll be set up with an email address and a password, and we do have 2-factor authentication within the UK for both the supplier side and our finance side, our AP screen, because of course we're dealing with the cash going out of the actual system. So again, all that security around how you access the actual platform. And the 2 key things that we're able to do as a supplier within the actual platform is 1, manage the information in terms of how we need to be paid, and 2, the day-to-day communication that we have with the actual supplier as well, the visibility that the supplier is getting of our platform, to ensure that instead of emailing and calling our AP team, they're able to access that data in real time. So initially, when we're talking about the onboarding process, it's a very short form for them to fill in to enable them to be payable. You can see here that we're collecting a little bit of data here about name and address, but ultimately, if there are any other bits of detail that you collect from your suppliers upfront, we can add fields and map them back to NetSuite as well. As soon as the supplier is created within Tipalti, it auto creates within NetSuite as well. So here we're collecting details of a UK supplier, and the one thing that we do in the background is sanction screen as well. We're checking that these suppliers are good suppliers to work with before we can proceed to actually pay those suppliers as well. If I click on next and I move across to the payment method, you can see that we can manage multiple different payment methods based on where the particular supplier sits. So for our UK suppliers, we offer them, or even our UK Europe suppliers, we can offer them BACS, SEPA and Wire. But if potentially for our US suppliers, we want to offer them global ACH, we can set those controls in the background. So ultimately, the supplier knows exactly or has a choice on exactly the way that we would like to pay them, rather than them dictating how they would like to be paid. If I select a certain payment type, so let's say local bank transfer, SEPA, you can see a form is created or populated here for me to fill in. Now, I don't know about you, but when I used to work in AP, if I was trying to pay a supplier that, I don't know, was a different supplier to who I was used to in a different payment method, then generally what would happen is I wouldn't know what details collect up front, which meant that when we get to the payment side of the actual process, I would delay the payment because I would be chasing suppliers for a certain amount of information. Here, we know that if I need to pay via BACS, then I have to collect sort code, account details. If I were to make a SEPA payment, then the form changes for me to then identify the type of detail that we need to collect. So making sure that we're collecting the relevant detail up front before we get to that payment process, which means increasing the accuracy of those payments at the other end. The other thing that Nick spoke about was actually ensuring that the data that we're collecting is correct. So if I start putting in a sort code and I'm not collecting the right amount of digits or information within the information that we're collecting, then I'm going to be notified that this information is incorrect, and it's going to push me to put in the right information. There are 26,000 rules embedded within the actual platform to ensure that we're collecting the correct information up front. So once we collected the actual information, so I can also say hold my payments. The final bit of the actual collection of data from the suppliers is ensuring that we have the tax data as well. So for a UK supplier, we're collecting VAT numbers. For a US supplier, it's a W8, W9 form, and it's just making sure that we're being compliant through the whole process. What we're also able to do is, as we're collecting that VAT data over here, as invoices are being processed within our platform, we're checking that the VAT number that they've given to us here is exactly the VAT number that's being put onto the actual invoices that we're collecting as well. So again, doing all those checks for you. The second part of the actual supplier hub is, like we said, is the ability to communicate our account status with the actual supplier, rather than them having to continuously contact us for details of, for example, payments. It's letting them know if those payments have been approved, how much has been approved. If they haven't, if we try to actually pay that particular supplier and we weren't able to do that, we're letting them know exactly the reasons why. This supplier is set on hold my payments, which means that they need to go in and actually submit payment details for them to actually be marked as payable. We can add further detail here. The tax forms weren't provided, things like that. We can start communicating, reasons of missed payments to them via the actual platform. I don't know about you, but anyone that has done statement reconciliations at the end of the month, ensuring that costs have been assigned to our platform, so to make these suppliers or these invoice payable. Now we can push that responsibility onto the supplier. If they want to be paid, they're going to ensure that these invoices are present within our platform. They can double check the invoices that have been submitted by themselves. And if they haven't been submitted, then update those details for them. The other thing that I just want to highlight here is we talked about multi-entity. and we talked about multi-currency. Within this platform, we can deal with that single supplier, but they could be providing us activity for all of our different entities, but they have that holistic view of what they're doing with us, with our company as a whole. And in terms of submitting those invoices, we can support multiple different formats, either to upload that detail via the actual portal or to send them via email. And in that, what we will see then on the finance side, so this is the finance view of the actual platform. Again, accessible via an email address and a password. You can see that on the left-hand side as this loads up, we have a ribbon that shows the different areas which we can kind of like manage within Tipalti. So this is AP managing these different areas and different and the life cycle for our invoices here as well. So whether it's approval, pending AP action, or what we're trying to do is get all of the invoices here where they have been approved, they have been PO matched, and we are now ready to pay those invoices. In terms of the actual bills, you can see here that I've got a list of all of the invoices that have come in, either via the portal or via the email. So AP can actually see all of those detail here. The first thing that we're going to do within Tipalti, utilizing our machine learning tool, is double check that all of these invoices haven't been processed before. If they have, you can see that we have a little notification to let us know that they have been. But the key thing here is the way in which now we can visualize those invoices coming into Tipalti. On the left-hand side, as this loads up, we'll be able to see the soft copy of the invoice that has been submitted via the portal or via email. But on the right-hand side and beneath here, we can see the level of data that we're extracting from the actual invoice. So Nick spoke about, OCR technology, and yes, that is embedded within the tool. But there are two further areas or ways in which we're extracting information that takes this process a level above just the standard scan and capture that OCR kind of like does. That is managed services. So that is a team of people that verify that the OCR, the OCR element of this, the scan and capture that we've done, is done correctly, i.e. the information has been collected within the right fields. And then the third element is, again, that machine learning that we saw up here, checking for duplicates. What it's also doing is checking a pattern. So every single time this invoice is processed, by the third time, Tipalti is going to understand exactly how those more dynamic elements of the invoice, location, department, class, things like that, expense code, how these are being processed or how these have been processed, and it's going to automatically populate those details for you. So what ends up happening in terms of that AP process is they become a more reviewing role rather than a doing role. Yeah. So if indeed, the expense account, because it can happen, that this particular invoice needs to go to a different department or a different expense account, all the information is collected directly from NetSuite, i.e. expense, the different kind of departments that we have, the different kind of locations that we can have, the project codes where we can assign these invoices to, and you can, of course, change it if you need to. But what I'm hoping you're seeing that in terms of that manual element of coding invoices, a lot of that's being reduced. It's only adjustments to invoices that we need to be concerned with. The next stage after the coding is, of course, the approval stage. It's then, who needs to approve this invoice? So what we do have is a very flexible way in which we can kind of manage our approvals. Now I'm going to talk about three different elements to approvals. First, a dynamic approval routing, i.e. what our, again, Tipalti Pi or our machine learning will do is if we don't have a policy-led approval, if you don't have strict approval routings, it will verify or check the way in which these invoices generally are approved. This invoice always went to Erica, then it always went to Angie, and then it always went to Sean. So it will start populating the ways in which these invoices are generally approved. And if I then, Nick spoke about flexibility, if I then wanted to add another approver just specifically for this invoice, I can then not only add in an approver on the fly, I can change where that approver needs to see the actual invoice as well. Now, of course, for larger organizations or growing organizations, some organizations want a bit more control. They want policy. So what we can do is set a policy to say all invoices need to go to a department head first. Then if they are under a certain amount, they need to go to Angie. But if they are over a certain amount, they go to Sean. And if they are over £50,000, for example, then they have to be seen by the CFO. So it's up to you in terms of how we want to set these approvals up. What we can do in addition to that also is people that generally don't have day-to-day approvals, for example, they're not generally part of the approval flow. If I wanted to add them on the fly, I can also add an approver just via email without any additional user licenses and send them the details within an email. You can see here, I've got a lot of detail here. I can see line level detail. I can see project codes. I can see account GL impact, department details. I can see the last 5 invoices that we have been sent from that particular supplier. I can see the list of approvers that are part of the approval chain, including myself. And then I have the option to approve the bill. If I want to give them the access to update coding, and when I mean update coding, department project account, I can also not give them that access as well, and maybe give them the access to send any adjustments that need to be made to AP. And then the AP team can then adjust the details as per this particular approver, or I can dispute the bill directly with the supplier. And this is one of the key areas because, again, being part of the AP team in my past, it was always us that had to pick up the phone with any queries and contact that supplier to talk about things that potentially we didn't really know about. These are the people, the budget holders are the people that are dealing with the suppliers, whereas the AP team had to deal with the queries. Here, what we're trying to do is put the responsibility back in the hands of that budget holder, that person that's dealing with the particular invoice or the activity we're doing with the supplier, and they can then have the conversations with the supplier. The supplier will send an updated invoice, and then we deal with the updates. And of course, they have the details of the soft copy invoice as well. So you can see here that, regardless of however you choose to, create those approval routings, we'll be able to manage those approvals with you. The next stage, if we do have a PO process, so I'm just going to switch screens here. What you'll see that was different to my other screen is I have now a PO matching area to my bills lifecycle. So we're able to manage invoices that are PO backed and non-PO backed within the one platform. So of course, like things like OPEX, for example, they might not have a PO raised for them, but other invoices we are able to create POs for. We can also manage two-way or three-way matching as well. Nick said that we do have our own PO management tool where we can create POs for you. But of course, NetSuite also have their own PO management tool as well. So if you are using NetSuite's PO, we can bring in the POs via NetSuite in real time, and we can do the matching for you within the actual system. Any invoices that have been fully matched, so the PO fully matches the invoice, they don't need to go through an approval process because, of course, the POs have been approved initially. So we don't need that extra step. But what we will do is for any of those POs that have not been matched, we're able to send you, give you visibility of all of those POs that now we need to deal with. We need to understand exactly why these POs haven't been matched. And here is my list here. So if I drill down into any of this detail, the visibility that we are able to get over these unmatched invoices are very different to maybe what you're used to right now. Here we have the bill lines, i.e. the invoice details on a line-by-line level. We have the receipting details. So these receipts, if you do not use our PO module, then these receipts are happening within NetSuite. But again, we get the notification within here what has been received and what has not been received. And then these are the purchase order lines. So you have clear visibility over what has been matched and what has not been matched. If the line level detail has been matched, you'll get a green tick here. But if they haven't been, you can see that I'm proactively told the reasons why this invoice does not match those POs. And I'm also given visual kind of like aid in the reasons why this PO has not matched the actual invoices that have come in. Then you have a choice. Of course, you can either proceed to coding, and if you're happy with the information that we have here, then maybe you just want to continue with this invoice regardless. Or we can send this back to the actual supplier or to the actual person, the owner of this invoice, to go back to the supplier and either update the PO or go back to the supplier and get them to update the invoice. The final stage of the actual process that we were discussing is the actual payment stage. So this is the part that I feel like completely differentiates us from any other platform. Geez, sorry if I come here. So what we said was after that life cycle, i.e. pending review, pending approval, pending any AP action, pending any PO matching that we need to do, all invoices will fall under here. That's the pending payment stage. All of these invoices are ready to be paid now. We are a multi-entity platform that deals with multiple different payment methods as well. Currently, your flow would be within NetSuite that you would have to create payment batches on an entity by entity level, and also on a payment by payment type batch as well. So, there's multiple different export files that you would need to create to then import them within the bank. What Tipalti enables you to do is, regardless of entity, regardless of payment method, regardless of currencies, we're able to create one payment batch. So I can also filter this batch as well. So you can see here that if I wanted to continue, separating the transactions by department, project, location, entity, I can do that. But you're able to save time by just creating payment batches for those, for anything that needs to be paid rather than anything per entity, per payment type. Then I have a choice. I can pay on the supplier's life cycle, i.e. 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Fantastic for OPEX costs, so electricity bills and things that have to be paid. And Tipalti will automatically generate those payments as and when those invoices will fall due. Or you can set a specific date, i.e. I want to pay all of these invoices on the 31st. And that will create a payment file, a payment batch for us. So you can see all of my different batches that are ready to either be paid or ready to go through approval. Another step that generally happens within a bank, we're bringing that within the platform, again, reducing risk of any adjustments that happen to those payment types, but also if there are any mistakes that have happened within the actual bank, we're not having to go back into the system to recreate those batches. We can do that directly from Tipalti now. So if I drill down into this payment batch, here I can see an accumulated view of all of the different currencies that I'm paying. I can see all of the different payments that I'm making, all of the different payment methods I'm paying from that one batch as we spoke about. And now I can go here and approve or decline this batch, the whole batch, or I can just decline payments on a transaction by transaction level, and that will go back into awaiting payments. So once those payments have been generated, all we would need for you to do is ensure that here we have our funding pots, our funding currencies, or our funding accounts that we make the payments off of. We just need to ensure that from your side, we've got enough money sitting in those little Tipalti funding accounts for us to make those payments. And at any point in time, we're able to have full visibility of when those payments are going to be going out of the system as well. And you'll have a notification to remind you to push that payment across into Tipalti so we can make those payments. So I know that was kind of like a whistle-stop tour of, Tipalti. And again, just to reiterate, if you do want a more detailed view of Tipalti, we're more than happy to do that for you. But I hope that shows you how, and in the multiple different ways in which we can create efficiencies across the whole process, eliminating all of that manual work and increasing the accuracy of those payments at the end of the cycle. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Nick.
Super. Thank you, Jasmine. Right, I'll just go back onto my screen and start sharing again. So thanks, Jasmine. That was a really great overview. Typically, when we actually go through and show a single customer the Tipalti platform, typically it's a sort of 60 to 90 minute sort of demonstration with questions all the way through. So what we've tried to do today is kind of give you a real high level overview and really address some of the key pain points. But there is obviously a lot more detail behind those quick demonstrations. So what I wanted to do now is quickly just just provide you a quick offer, and that is that Tipalti and BrightBridge would like to offer all of the attendees today a free AP health check. So the AP health check is a simple interview with one of our solution consultants like Jasmine to kind of really understand your process that you're doing today, and really help you identify any gaps or inefficiencies in that process, and really kind of help you to work out an action plan on how you can take those forwards and address those, and actually what the value would be of addressing those as well. In terms of why you might want to do this, I think as I said right at the start, and kind of as we've gone through the demo today, I think lots of people would agree that the AP process is the most time consuming across the finance function, and really fixing this, automating it, making it really fully digital and fully efficient can really help your finance team. So yeah, what I thought would be good to do now is just go through kind of a quick Q&A. We really love sharing information, so the first thing to say is that you will receive a link to this presentation, the Future of Office Finance white paper research piece that was put together as well, and a link to the demonstration, this recording as well. Hopefully we'll cut out my earlier faux pas. And yeah, please, do talk to BrightBridge or ourselves about that AP health check. But yeah, I just wanted to see if there are any quick questions from anyone.
I've had a couple of questions coming to me through the presentation, so I'll just start with those. Anyone else, please feel free to message me directly or put it in the meeting chat. So the first question we have is, as a business, we operate in pounds. How do you deal with payments in other currencies?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Typically, the way that we work is that we can, if you're just simply in pounds, you would fund Tipalti in pounds, and then Tipalti will then take care of any currency conversion requirements that you have. So if you've got suppliers who are saying that you need to pay in dollars or on any one of 120 plus different currencies, then that's something that the Tipalti platform can just simply handle for you. In terms of also kind of options that you have, you can actually provide suppliers with a specific currency that you will pay in, but then give them the option that actually if they then want to be paid in another currency, that they actually take on the FX charge for that. So there are a number of options as well. But again, please do feel free to sign up, ask us for one of those AP health checks, and we'll be really happy during that process, that short interview process, just to kind of go through and kind of give you a more kind of qualified answer.
Of course, thanks for that. The next question is, we utilize NetSuite OneWorld within the business. How do you cope with this within your platform? Yeah,
well, one of the great things is that Tipalti was kind of, as it was being built, it was built kind of almost to kind of mirror NetSuite. So obviously with NetSuite, you have the OneWorld sort of subsidiary capability to be able to kind of build out a subsidiary structure, and Tipalti works in exactly the same way. So you can have you can effectively replicate that subsidiary structure into Tipalti. From a user access and security point of view, you can give your users access to either like one of those subsidiaries or however many that they should have access to. And again, you can break that down and actually give them certain functions and capabilities within each, or just give them access to kind of to everything. And likewise, effectively, that subsidiary structure is also honoured in terms of when suppliers are adding themselves, where they actually add them, effectively which subsidiary or are they that they're working with, or is it actually kind of the group?
Thanks for that. So if anyone has any follow-up questions, obviously do put them in the chat as well. The next question is, how does Tipalti OCR manage multi-page invoices? When he says multi-page, he means 50 to 60 pages, just to be clear.
Yeah, so Tipalti certainly does. Jasmine, have you got, I guess, a more defined technical answer to how we handle large invoices?
Yeah, it'll be exactly the same. So we're able to extract all the data from all of the different pages. It's the one file that we're looking at with the information in it. So in a similar way that you just saw right now.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jasmine.
One question I have here as well is, do you have a value proposition assessment to show where the return on investment on the platform is?
Yes, we do. Yeah, yep. So that's something we can, as part of the output to the process, we can effectively we can show you where we can show you the different parts of the investment and kind of value cost of the platform. So yeah, absolutely, please do ask for that health check, and that's something we can go through and provide as part of that process.
Perfect. Thanks, Nick. Another question, can you buy the OCR functionality separately?
It is possible just to use Tipalti for invoice processing. We've really positioned ourselves as a platform, and the value of Tipalti really is that end-to-end platform. We do have lots of customers, especially NetSuite customers, who are already using NetSuite for purchase orders, so they don't use and don't pay for our PO management module. But the majority of customers that use us like to use our invoice management. That's the supplier onboarding, the invoice processing, and our payments all together, because that's really where the value and the automation really comes from. But yeah, absolutely. Again, please, let's set up a meeting. Let's have one of those health check reviews, and we can really go through that and work through that in more detail with you.
That's perfect. Thanks, Nick. That wraps up our questions. So I'd just like to thank everyone for taking the time to attend the webinar today. If you do have any further questions, want to arrange a health check, or would like to have a more bespoke demonstration, please just send me an email at ryan.harris@brightbridgesolutions.com, and this can be arranged for you. The next webinar in our series is with Focus, called Make Data-Driven Decisions Using Your NetSuite ERP. This will be held at 11 o'clock on the 23rd of June. The emails for this will be sent out shortly with the details to register. So thanks again for attending today, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thanks very much to Nick and Jasmine for that great presentation.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.